Okay, welcome back. So far in Chapter 4, we've looked at inequalities. We've looked at how to graph a simple inequality. When we started solving inequalities, we started with undoing addition and subtraction, followed by multiplication and division. Now we're going to start solving multi-step inequalities. And a multi-step inequality simply combines addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division. I'm going to start out with a relatively difficult, or not difficult, but more challenging problem to some students. And that's because I'm going to have a negative multiplier. I'm going to choose negative 5x minus 7 is less than 28. So, if you've been with me so far, you know that when I start solving an inequality, I usually don't even consider the symbol for the inequality, not until the very end. Why is that? Well, because I want to treat it just like an equation to start off with. I'm good at solving equations, so I'm going to stick with that. So if I treat that like an equation, I draw my equal bar down the middle, and just like in an equation, we want to undo addition and subtraction first. So since it's negative 5x minus 7, I have subtraction there. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 7. And I have to do that to both sides, of course. Negative 7 plus 7, I cancel those out. Those actually zero out. And on that side, I'm left with negative 5 times x. And 28 plus 7 on the right gives me 35. Now we're stuck with multiplication. That is negative 5x on the left side here. And be very careful here. Most people, when they undo this, they try to divide by 5. Remember, I want to divide by the number I want to get rid of, and this number is negative 5. So, I show my division by drawing the line. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. And negative 5 divided by negative 5 gives me a 1. So on the left, I'm left with 1x. Again, if you recall, we don't write a 1 in front of the x normally. And 35 divided by negative 5 is negative 7. Now, that, unlike an equation, that is not my solution. That's simply an endpoint. In this class, we get our solutions from a graph. So we're going to take that endpoint and we're going to graph it. And on a simple inequality like this, I usually put the endpoint right in the middle. And I graph two numbers to the right and two numbers to the left of my endpoint. Now, here is one time where I actually look at that. I look at it to see if my circle on my endpoint is going to be open or closed. Since there is no equal bar under this, that means I'm going to put a circle right here. Once I've circled my endpoint, now I need to determine which way on the number line this is shaded. So usually what I do is I look for a number on the number line, either to the left, over here, or to the right of my endpoint. And I usually look for a nice easy number to use. And 0 is over here to the right somewhere. It's not written, but it is down there. So I'm going to use 0 as my test point. Now, since 0 is actually to the right of my test point, I'm going to call that my right test point. And the way I use a test point is I plug it back in to my original inequality, and then I simplify it to see if it's true. So over here under my test point, I'm going to rewrite the original, negative 5, and wherever there is a variable, I'm going to put a set of parentheses. That tells me I need to plug something in there. Write the rest of it, negative 7 less than 28. And wherever those parentheses are, I'm going to plug in my test point. And now I simplify. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Nothing else to simplify. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. And now that there's nothing left to simplify on either side, now I want to see if this is true. Is negative 7 less than 28? And I can see that yes, negative 7 is less than. And since that's to the right, I am going to shade in the number line to the right of my endpoint. And a lot of students are tempted to stop here, but I haven't got my solution yet. I've simply got an endpoint. I've got a graph. Now I have to write my solution. So, here's the process. Write down your variable, x in this case. You look at your original, the variable is x. Give it a space and then write your endpoint. Again, the endpoint is found here or from my graph. I tend to look at it from my graph because that's how I'm going to get my inequality. Now I look at my endpoint and the shading here is to the right. So what I want to do is, when I draw my inequality, I'm going to point the arrow to the right. And this is open, so I don't have the little the equal bar underneath. So x is greater than negative 7. This is useful because look what happened to the inequality symbol. Here the arrow is pointing to the left, and my solution is pointing to the right. You may have originally been taught that when you divide or multiply by a negative number, you flip that around. A lot of students forget that. This is why I like, or one of the reasons why I like the test point method. Another reason is you're kind of doing some self-check here, and you're getting a lot of good practice. Thank you very much.